Yes, you heard it right. Jenny Slatten's husband, Sumit Singh, was arrested. In the glamorous world of reality television, love stories often look magical. But behind the cameras, real life can be much darker than what viewers see. According to reports, Sumit Singh became involved in online gambling and slowly fell into serious debt. Over time, that debt reportedly grew to nearly $280,000. What made the situation worse was that Sumit kept this debt hidden and repeatedly pressured Jenny Slatten to help pay it off. As the debt continued to grow and Sumit failed to repay it, a lawsuit was filed against him. Eventually, he was arrested and the court sentenced him to 1 year in prison. With the truth finally coming out, everything changed. Jenny was under constant mental stress and faced endless problems. She felt trapped, overwhelmed, and betrayed. In the end, she had no choice but to divorce Sumit Singh. Later, determined to move forward and rebuild her life, Jenny decided to marry another man named Zach. This is not just a love story that failed. It is a cautionary tale about secrets, betrayal, and survival. To truly understand how deep the betrayal was, we need to understand who Jenny Slatten was and what she risked. Jenny was not a typical reality TV star. She was a woman from Palm Springs, California, nearing retirement when she unexpectedly found love. Like many modern relationships, it began online. What started as casual chats slowly turned into something serious. On the other side of the world, in India, Sumit Singh was just as drawn in. He was much younger, adventurous, and determined to prove that age did not matter. When Jenny first appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way, viewers saw her as a hopeful romantic. She left behind her comfortable life in the United States to chase love in a foreign country. Many people questioned her decision, including her family and friends, but Jenny stayed firm. To her, love was worth the risk. Sumit appeared to be a devoted partner. He supported Jenny through cultural shock, defended her against his family's objections, and promised her a happy future. From the outside, their story looked like a modern fairy tale, an older American woman and a younger Indian man choosing love against all odds. But behind the smiles, problems were already growing. Sumit was hiding things. Jenny, deeply in love, believed she had finally found her soulmate. Their relationship faced many challenges: family drama, money worries, and criticism from others. Still, Jenny fought through it all, convinced that love was stronger than culture and age. What she didn't know was that Sumit was carrying a secret far worse than family disapproval. A secret that would destroy their marriage, land him in legal trouble, and leave Jenny heartbroken. While cameras filmed their journey and fans supported them, Sumit was living a double life. In front of Jenny, he played the role of a loving husband. Behind her back, addiction and temptation slowly took over. Jenny thought she had crossed the world for love, but instead, she had walked into a storm. At first, their relationship looked strong. They had survived distance, judgment, and criticism, but small cracks began to appear. The biggest problem came from Sumit's family. His parents strongly opposed the relationship. In Indian culture, family expectations mattered deeply, and their age gap was considered shocking. To them, the relationship was not love, it was shameful. Jenny felt this rejection every day. She wanted acceptance, but each attempt ended in pain. His parents were cold and dismissive. For Jenny, it was heartbreaking. For Sumit, it was suffocating. He loved Jenny but still wanted his parents' approval, which never came. The tension slowly damaged their relationship. Arguments became frequent. Silence replaced joy. Jenny began asking questions. Why won't they accept me? Why can't we be happy? But family problems were not the only issue. There were warning signs. Sumit often seemed anxious or distracted. He stayed up late on his phone or laptop. Sometimes he was unusually happy, other times distant and moody. Jenny blamed stress and pressure, not knowing the truth. Money problems followed. Jenny lived on limited retirement savings and started noticing things that didn't add up. Bills were late. Bank balances didn't make sense. Whenever she asked, Sumit brushed it off with excuses. Jenny wanted to trust him. Doubting him felt like doubting her own life choices. So she chose to believe him. Like many people in love, Jenny ignored the warning signs. She didn't realize she was moving closer to a breaking point. Inside their home, the cracks were spreading fast. Her story was no longer about romance. It was about survival. For months, Jenny dismissed the late nights, mood swings, and money issues. She believed Sumit when he said he was stressed, but in reality, he was fighting a hidden addiction. It reportedly started small. A few online games, a few bets. Gambling became an escape for him. When family pressure grew and judgment followed him, gambling gave him relief and excitement. At first, the losses were small. Jenny didn't notice, but wins made him confident and losses made him desperate. Soon, hundreds became thousands. Thousands became tens of thousands. Every loss made him believe the next bet would fix everything. Instead, the debt kept growing. By the time Jenny realized something was seriously wrong, Sumit was already trapped in nearly $280,000 of gambling debt. And that secret would change both of their lives forever. The scale of what was happening was shocking. Sumit had borrowed money from online lenders, maxed out credit cards, and taken risky loans with extremely high interest rates. Every day, the pressure grew. His email inbox filled with collection warnings. Unknown numbers called constantly, demanding payment. But even then, Sumit could not stop gambling. Jenny began to notice changes in him. He became nervous whenever his phone rang and rushed to answer calls. His hands shook when he opened his laptop late at night. There were unexplained withdrawals from their shared bank account. When Jenny asked questions, Sumit became defensive. "Why are you always doubting me? Don't you trust me?" he snapped, turning the blame on her. Jenny was hurt, but still holding on to the man she loved. She backed down, saying, "Of course I trust you, Sumit. I left everything for you." But deep inside, her instincts told her something was very wrong. Sumit's addiction was not only about money. It affected his emotions too. His mood depended on his gambling results. When he won, he was happy and loving. When he lost, he became cold, angry, and distant. Jenny felt like she was living with two different people. One man promised her a future, while the other was lost in a dark obsession. Addiction never stays hidden forever. Secrets always come out, and Sumit's secret was about to be exposed. One evening, while using Sumit's laptop, Jenny accidentally came across a series of emails. They were not from friends or family. They were from lenders, debt collectors, and gambling websites. The subject lines made her heart race. Final notice. Immediate payment required. Account overdue. Her hands shook as she read the amounts. Thousands of dollars owed to people she had never heard of. Line after line, the numbers grew larger. Her heart sank. The man she trusted, the man she sacrificed everything for, had been living a double life. When Jenny confronted Sumit, his face turned pale. At first, he denied everything. Then he tried to shift the blame. He said he was stressed. He claimed gambling was just a way to cope. But as Jenny kept pressing him, the truth came out. The losses, the loans, the nearly $280,000 in debt hanging over them both. Jenny felt dizzy. Everything she had built with him suddenly felt fake. Love had brought her across the world, but lies had trapped her in a nightmare. And it didn't stop there. Sumit begged her to help him pay off the debt. He insisted that together they could fix everything. But for Jenny, this was no longer about money. It was about trust. And once trust is broken, it is almost impossible to fix. What Jenny didn't yet understand was that this secret would not only cost her peace of mind, it was about to pull her into a legal disaster that would change both of their lives forever. The cracks in their marriage were no longer hidden. They had burst wide open. And the fall was only beginning. Debt grows fast. One mistake can quickly turn into something impossible to escape. For Sumit Singh, the $280,000 debt was no longer just a number. It was a storm he could not outrun. For Jenny, it marked the beginning of the darkest period of her life. At first, Jenny tried to believe in him. When Sumit cried and confessed, she hoped it was a one-time mistake. She told herself that love meant forgiveness. Maybe if she stood by him, he would change. But Sumit did not change. Instead of stopping, he gambled even more. He convinced himself that one big win would solve everything. He believed he could repay the loans, earn Jenny's forgiveness, and regain respect from his parents. That win never came. Each loss made things worse. Online lenders charged brutal interest rates. Collection calls became aggressive. Some creditors threatened legal action. Desperate and afraid, Sumit sank even deeper into the gambling platforms that were destroying him. Jenny lived in constant anxiety. She was retired and living on limited savings. She never imagined facing this kind of chaos at this stage of her life. Every dollar suddenly mattered. Grocery shopping felt stressful. Bills felt overwhelming. Nights that once held warmth and laughter were now filled with silence and fear. Sumit's pressure on Jenny increased. He begged her to help him pay his debts. He told her she was his only hope. At first, Jenny refused. "I can't do this, Sumit. I don't have that kind of money. I came here for love, not to pay for your mistakes," she cried. But Sumit pushed harder. His begging turned into guilt. "Didn't you promise to stand by me no matter what? Didn't you leave your entire life for me? Then prove it. Help me. Anything." Jenny felt trapped. She had already given up so much. Now the man she trusted was demanding her financial security too. Behind the scenes, creditors closed in. Official letters arrived. Some collectors even came to their door. Jenny became afraid to answer the phone or check the mail. Every knock at the door felt threatening. Soon, the scandal spread. Neighbors and acquaintances began whispering. Judgment followed. Jenny, once admired by fans as a brave woman who fought for love, now felt ashamed and exposed. The man she loved was drowning, and he was pulling her down with him. The final breaking point came when Jenny discovered that Sumit had secretly pawned her belongings. Jewelry, electronics, and even sentimental items were gone. When she confronted him, his response was cold. "I had no choice," he said. "It was that or let them come after me harder." Jenny's heart shattered. This was no longer hidden debt. This was betrayal she could see. The numbers kept rising. Interest piled on top of interest. Repayment became impossible. What started as gambling losses turned into a legal nightmare. Creditors filed formal complaints. Lawyers became involved. Soon, the talk of a lawsuit became reality. Night after night, Jenny lay awake staring at the ceiling, asking herself the same question. How did I end up here? She had crossed oceans for love, fought for a marriage no one believed in, and now she was watching it collapse under lies and debt. The burden was no longer just financial. It was emotional, mental, and spiritual. It consumed her completely. And with each passing day, Jenny realized she might not be able to save Sumit or their marriage. But debt collectors did not care about love or heartbreak. They wanted payment. And when payment didn't come, they took the final step. They filed a lawsuit against Sumit Singh. And just like that, Jenny and Sumit's story stopped being about romance. It became a courtroom battle the world would soon hear about. Debt is not just numbers. It is weight. It follows you every moment of the day. For Jenny Slatten, that weight became unbearable. By now, the truth was clear. Sumit Singh had lost nearly $280,000 to online gambling. Lawsuits were coming. Creditors were relentless. And the peaceful life Jenny dreamed of was slipping away. Worst of all, Sumit was not falling alone. He was dragging Jenny down with him. At first, his words sounded desperate. "Jenny, please. You're all I have. If you don't help me, I'll lose everything," he begged, tears in his eyes. But Jenny was no longer sure if those tears were real. Jenny listened to Sumit's words, but something inside her had changed. The fear was still there, the sadness too, but the blind trust was gone. She realized that every promise he made now sounded the same as the ones before. Empty, rehearsed, desperate. She asked him one simple question. "When does it stop?" Sumit had no answer. He looked away, rubbing his face, his silence louder than any confession. That was the moment Jenny understood the truth. This was not a problem she could fix. Love alone could not save them. Days passed in a haze. The house felt heavy, filled with tension and unspoken anger. Every phone call made Jenny jump. Every email notification made her stomach tighten. She stopped sleeping well. She stopped eating regularly. The stress was slowly breaking her down. Sumit, meanwhile, grew more unstable. His mood swung wildly. Some days he promised to change, swore he would never gamble again, begged for forgiveness. Other days he lashed out, accusing Jenny of not supporting him, of giving up too easily. The man she once knew seemed to disappear completely. Then the legal papers arrived. A formal notice. A lawsuit filed against Sumit Singh for unpaid debts. Jenny read the documents carefully, her hands trembling. This was no longer something they could hide or delay. The situation had crossed into the legal system. Sumit panicked. He paced the room, talking fast, blaming everyone but himself. The lenders, the system, bad luck, stress, anyone except the man in the mirror. Jenny watched him and felt a deep, aching sadness. She no longer recognized her husband. As the court date approached, the pressure became unbearable. Creditors demanded answers. Lawyers contacted them. The possibility of arrest became very real. Jenny realized that staying with Sumit meant risking her own safety, her finances, and her future. She reached out to friends back home. For the first time, she told them everything. The gambling, the lies, the debt, the fear. Saying it out loud made it real, but it also made her feel less alone. Her friends were shocked, but they were firm. You cannot save him, they told her. You have to save yourself. Those words stayed with her. When the court proceedings finally moved forward, Sumit was ordered to appear. The evidence was overwhelming. The unpaid loans, the contracts, the records of online gambling transactions. There was no escaping the truth anymore. According to the court's decision, Sumit was found responsible for the debts and sentenced to 1 year in prison. When Jenny heard the verdict, she felt numb. She expected to feel relief or anger, but instead she felt empty. The man she loved was being taken away, not by another person, but by his own choices. After the sentencing, Jenny returned home alone. The silence was unbearable. Every corner of the house reminded her of the life she thought she had. The dreams she had defended so fiercely were gone. Friends and neighbors watched from a distance. Some felt sympathy. Others judged. Jenny stopped caring. She was exhausted. Over the following weeks, she faced a hard truth. Staying married to Sumit, even emotionally, was destroying her. She had given him chances. She had given him trust. She had given him her future. And he had lost it all. With a heavy heart, Jenny made the decision to file for divorce. It was not easy. Signing the papers felt like admitting failure. But deep down, she knew this was not failure. It was survival. The divorce process was painful but necessary. Jenny cut financial ties, closed shared accounts, and protected what little she had left. For the first time in years, she felt like she was taking control of her life again. When the divorce was finalized, Jenny cried. Not just for the marriage, but for the woman she used to be. The hopeful romantic who believed love could conquer anything. Healing did not happen overnight. Some days were harder than others. She struggled with guilt, wondering if she could have done something differently. She replayed memories, searching for the moment when everything went wrong. But slowly something shifted. Jenny began to focus on herself. She rebuilt routines. She reconnected with old friends. She reminded herself of who she was before the chaos. A strong woman, independent, brave. Time passed. The pain softened. Later, Jenny met someone new, a man named Zach. He was calm, steady, and honest. He did not promise grand gestures or fairy tales. He offered respect, consistency, and peace. At first, Jenny was cautious. Her heart had been broken deeply. Trust did not come easily anymore. But Zach was patient. He listened. He did not rush her. Over time, friendship grew into something more. For the first time in years, Jenny felt safe. Eventually, she chose to marry again. Not out of desperation, not out of fantasy, but out of clarity. She knew what she wanted now. And more importantly, she knew what she would never accept again. Looking back, Jenny understood that her story was never just about romance. It was about choices, about ignoring warning signs, about how love can sometimes blind even the strongest people. Sumit's downfall was tragic, but it was also a result of his own actions. Addiction, secrecy, and denial had cost him everything. His freedom, his marriage, his future. Jenny's journey, on the other hand, became one of survival and strength. She lost years, money, and trust, but she did not lose herself. Her story serves as a reminder. Love should never come with fear. Trust should never be forced. And no one should have to destroy their life to save someone who refuses to save themselves. Behind the reality TV cameras, behind the edited scenes and dramatic music, real lives were affected. Real pain was lived, and real lessons were learned. Jenny once crossed the world for love. In the end, she crossed through heartbreak to find herself again.